On your left. On your left.
On my left. Got it. Don't say it. Don't you say it.
On your left.
Come on!
On your left.
On your left.
On your left, welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hope you're all doing great. Today is kind of like a part 2 of that previous Armor Wars video that I did last week. Go check that out if you haven't. And so to continue off that video, let's talk about Sharon Carter and her power broker ways. There's tons of possibilities with her basically turning to the dark side. So let's talk about these options, and if she's a Skrull, was she snapped, and of course where we can see her character in the future, specifically if it sets up Armor Wars or Captain America 4. Before we start though, you know the drill. If you're new to the channel, or if you just like Marvel, the MCU, comics, and everything in between, subscribe and leave a like if you enjoy. Other than that, let's get into the video. Let's go. I think one of the biggest questions people had right away is Sharon a Skrull? So let's discuss this aspect first. Now, just because she's the power broker doesn't mean she isn't a Skrull, right? She can also be both. In fact, it would make a lot of sense. Not a single person would have known Fury and Hill were Skrulls in Far From Home without a reveal, and that's exactly the point of Secret Invasion. You could argue someone like Maria Hill has always been a Skrull, and that's the point. We have no clue who is who, and it's inevitable that somewhat of a big character will be revealed to be a Skrull. But I don't think that they would do it to someone that's really high profile in the MCU, but more likely a mid-tier character like Maria Hill or even Sharon Carter. Someone who could play a big role and did just enough in the MCU to be a big reveal, but not too big enough to where it would piss people off. For example, if Tony Stark or Steve Rogers was somehow always a Skrull. So that type of mid-tier identity falls right in place with who Sharon Carter is in the MCU. Who is going to be the person with the deep connections? In the comics, you have the Skrull Queen Veronica, who takes on the role and look of Spider-Woman, and she's a huge factor in the Skrull invasion, and a lot of that does set up undercover feel of the invasion itself. Sharon would be a perfect fit, but the way Emily Van Camp talks about it and how they are redeeming her role as an actor in the MCU, it seems like she's just a sour villain mad at the US government. And so where does this take us? It's going to take us on a real arc, and I think this could set up the idea of Armor Wars, but more importantly, Captain America 4. The Marvel Disney Plus shows seem to all be about transformation and character growth, and that's exactly what we're going to see from Rhodey, who we really don't know a whole lot about in the MCU, except for generalities and becoming War Machine. But we don't really know who he is, who his family is, and so on, which is exactly what Falcon and Winter Soldier gave us with Sam. Rhodey of course conversed with Sam in Infinity War and stuff, but having him and Falcon and Winter Soldier confirms their relationship will be growing in the future. And this is more like a byproduct of the show, and get ready because I'm going to use that word a few more times. But this does inevitably set up Armor Wars connections between Captain America 4, Sharon Carter, and Armor Wars. I could see Sharon's actions being a byproduct for the Armor Wars storylines, but I don't think that she will be the main villain. We are more likely to get someone like Justin Hammer, who has been rumored to return, or someone on the levels of Tyler Hayward, who I mentioned in last week's video. So White Vision and that idea of creating sentient beings or sentinels, being is more on par with the Armor Wars storyline, but in reality, I do think that Sharon Carter sits with the larger Captain America corner of the MCU. She's a Carter, and that name is trusted in the Marvel Universe thanks to Peggy, and she's been in 3 out of the 4 Captain America projects in the MCU. And I think that she will definitely play a role in the 4th movie, the Captain America 4 movie, and most of these newer movies like Thor 4 are going to be bigger and badder than their 3rd movie respectively. And a way that you could tie in so many heroes and villains together is through this idea of Armor Wars and the Power Broker. Sharon Carter exploiting the government for weapons is exactly something that Sam Wilson and Rhodey would not be happy with. Sharon betraying a country that Sam wants to protect, and for Rhodey, Tony's tech is being used by villains and not his original intentions. So I definitely think that we can see Rhodey in Captain America 4 alongside Sam, Bucky, and more people. The Cap movies are all about deeper government issues, and make no mistake, Cap 4 will be exactly that. And if I had to guess, Sharon Carter will be at the forefront of this, or even if she's not the main villain, she will still be prominent in at least part of the storyline. Her actions will have created a cause and effect on the MCU, because in reality, most of the MCU grounded villains are just byproducts of either something that the Avengers did or something that another villain has led on. So for me, I didn't enjoy how they brought back Sharon or explained her, or for a lack of words, didn't really explain her at all. It was kind of just a really empty and overall flat storyline. I think the Power Broker should have a way more intriguing of a reveal, and it's not the fact that it was Sharon, it was just how they did it. and a big part of this is the mystery behind her, which, don't get me wrong, is awesome, and that's exactly what the MCU does because they want to set up things for the future, but they usually don't leave it this vague. So now that we talked about what she could be setting up, let's break down how she got there. What would be her motivation for Sharon to, as we call it, break bad?
I also took the wings for your ass so that you could save his ass from his ass. Unlike you, I didn't have the Avengers to back me up, so I'm off the grid in Madripoor.
If she was snapped, which was originally shown in Endgame, then it only took her like 6 months to become a criminal boss in Madripoor. That's highly unlikely, so I think there are a few possibilities for how she became the power broker. Number 1, she's been evil all along, starting in Winter Soldier. Think about it. Hydra infiltrated everything. They probably would have seen Sharon Carter as a high priority target to convert her because of her lineage. Screen Crush talks about this and also how a lot of the actions that she made progressed the Civil War storyline, and in a way it did help out Zemo. Almost as if she was the inside person for how Zemo successfully completed his plan. So there is definitely some merit to it, but ideally not the best idea and overall way too complicated for what I think they're going to do. Number 2, like I mentioned in the beginning, the Sharon that we know could be dead and gone. Someone or something like a Skrull has taken her place, and it would be the reason for this huge switch up in her characterization. But the one that makes the most sense, adding her as snapped in Endgame, was a mistake, and she will have a backstory during the blip and maybe even a future project that will look at her experience during that time. It's possible they didn't know what to do with her in that movie, so it was one of those things where the Russos just put her as blipped, but being that she's been on the run and a secretive op, they can just say that she was off the radar and therefore not detected. It would be kind of a retcon, but the fact that we never knew if she was snapped or not, this would be the easiest way to get around that, and I bet a lot of money that this is the route that they're going for. So all this time, 5+ years, she's been increasing her power in Madripoor, and maybe when everyone came back, she needed to find ways to increase her power, which is how Karli and the serum tied into the past 6 or so months, and eventually the Falcon and Winter Soldier storyline. And Emily Van Camp even talks about how she was excited for this new iteration of the character and how it's a perfect turnaround for not only what the government did to her, but also the Avengers, mainly Steve. It'll also add nice depth because deep down she doesn't hate Bucky and Sam, but in the end she does want revenge on the United States, and that level of divide will be fun to dive into within Captain America 4 or wherever she shows up next. The director also basically confirmed that she did survive the snap, stating that she's a survivor and not necessarily a full-on villain, which is kind of what I also got from her scenes in the Falcon and Winter Soldier. So I'm now wondering if that Nomad show that was rumored to be in development is actually about her time during the blip and a full background on her characterization up until now, which is what I would love to see because we will finally know what she went through, how involved she was with Karli, and it would kind of patch up all the loose ends that Falcon and Winter Soldier left off with her storyline. The mystery of Sharon Carter will definitely be one that we can talk about for a while, but I'm going to leave it off at this for now. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below and your theories for where she could show up next. As always, follow me on Twitter to keep up to date with all of my announcements and content at Another Marvel G. All links to my socials are below, including where you can find the podcast. And make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell turned on so you don't miss any new videos. Other than that, I just want to say thank you for 300 subs. I'm Another Marvel Guy, and I'll catch y'all on the blip.